Before vaping, before smoking bans, before health warnings covered every packet, there was one cigarette you saw almost everywhere in Britain. In factories, on building sites, in lorry cabs, and in the pockets of millions of working men. It came in a simple navy blue packet, and for decades, Player's No. 6 was one of Britain's best-selling cigarettes. John Player and Sons began as a small tobacconist shop on Beastmarket Hill, Nottingham, in 1862, run by John Player himself. By 1877, the company had moved from selling loose tobacco to manufacturing its own cigarettes, expanding into the castle factories, and building a reputation for reliable, everyday smokes. In 1901, as American tobacco giants threatened the British market, Players joined 12 other firms in a merger that formed Imperial Tobacco. The Player family stayed on the board, keeping a close eye on the company's direction and brand identity. By the early 1960s, the British cigarette market was shifting. Premium brands and old-fashioned shag cigarettes left a gap for something new, affordable. No nonsense, and suited to the working man's routine. Inside the Nottingham boardroom, directors and product teams looked for a way to fill that space. Their answer was Player's No. 6, launched in 1965. The name itself was chosen for its simplicity, a number without baggage, easy to remember, and free from pretension. The advertising slogan, part of the British scene, captured the brand's intention. This was a cigarette for the everyday, for the lunch break and the bus stop, not the drawing room. Manufacturing capacity was already in place, with thousands employed in Nottingham's tobacco factories. The launch was deliberate, a product built from the ground up for mass appeal, priced so that a pack fit into the pocket of a factory worker or lorry driver. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, Player's No. 6 became your dad's. The navy blue packet soon joined the everyday sights of British life, a quiet marker of ordinary routines and the world that made them. By the mid-1960s, smoking was woven into the fabric of British life. The numbers alone tell the story. Official data from 1965 show adult men in Britain smoked an average of 25 cigarettes a day, among the highest rates in the world. In factories, pubs, buses, and even offices, cigarettes were everywhere, tucked behind the ear of a builder, perched on the lips of a machinist, or passed around at the football ground. The blue haze of tobacco hung over tea breaks and lunch hours, a familiar backdrop to working life. Media and advertising only reinforced this sense of normality. Television dramas, films, and magazine spreads treated smoking as ordinary, almost expected. Newsagents' windows were filled with posters for different brands, and cigarette machines stood ready in station waiting rooms and pub corridors. There was no stigma attached to lighting up in public. If anything, it was a mark of belonging and a quiet signal that you were part of the crowd. In this world, cigarettes were not about glamour or sophistication. They were about routine, about fitting in, about a small pleasure that broke up the day. The market was crowded, but the need for something affordable and straightforward was clear. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, Player's No. 6 became your dad's. The navy blue packet soon became as familiar as a pint at the local or a chat at the bus stop, a quiet companion to the rhythms of ordinary British life. Looking back, it is striking just how present smoking was, so ordinary that it almost faded into the background, yet unforgettable for those who lived through it. In the world of shift work and steel-toed boots, Player's No. 6 became more than just a cigarette. It was a badge quietly passed from hand to hand, a pocket-sized companion through the long hours. The coupon scheme played no small part in this. Each pack came with its own promise, 5 points for a 10-pack, 10 for a 20-pack. These coupons, snipped and saved, ended up in biscuit tins and kitchen drawers across Britain. Over months, sometimes years, families pooled their points for catalogues that offered kettles, radios, even toys for Christmas. One miner's son remembers. We would sit round the table counting out the coupons, hoping there would be enough for Mum's new iron. For the men on the factory floor, in the mines, or behind the wheel of a lorry, No. 6 fit neatly in a shirt pocket or the dash of a cab. Its size and price made it practical, a smoke you could finish in a quick tea break without fuss or ceremony. Oral histories recall packets being shared at the end of a shift, or flicked across a table during a break, the blue and white packet as familiar as the sound of the clocking off bell. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, player's number 6 became your dad's. This was not about luxury or prestige, it was about belonging. The navy blue packet was a quiet marker of the working man's world, a world of early mornings, hard graft and small comforts. Even now, memories of player's number 6 surface in stories told in pubs and around kitchen tables, a reminder of a Britain where the ordinary was worn with pride. The navy blue packet of player's number 6 carried a quiet authority on every shop counter and factory bench. Its colour was no accident, chosen by the in-house advertising team to signal reliability and self-reliance, a straightforward look that matched the no-nonsense world of its customers. The design used a simple 2-colour print, keeping costs down so the price stayed within reach for the man on the tools or behind the wheel. Inside the John Player advertising archive, thousands of packaging mock-ups and show cards still survive, each one a piece of the campaign to make player's number 6 instantly recognisable. More than 20,000 artefacts chart the brand's rise, from early packet sketches to the bold slogan, part of the British scene. Sales charts from the late 1960s and the 1970s tell the rest of the story. Player's number 6 shot to the top of the market, outselling rivals and holding the number 1 spot for much of the decade. It was everywhere, on newsagent shelves, in vending machines, and slipped into the breast pocket of overalls. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, player's number 6 became your dad's. The packet's look and the marketing behind it secured a place not just in the sales figures, but in the memory of a generation. The blue box became a familiar sight, a badge of ordinary British life. Packets of players number 6 settled into every corner of working Britain. On factory floors, the blue box rested beside mugs of tea and battered lunch tins, its edges softened by greasy hands and the rhythm of the clocking in bell. In the break rooms of textile mills and car plants, the packet was propped on formica tables, a fixture as ordinary as the sugar tin. Pubs and working men's clubs carried their own rituals. Packets lined up along the bar, swapped for a pint, or perched on the edge of a dominoes game. Ashtrays stamped with the player's logo filled up with spent stubs as laughter and arguments drifted through the haze. Vending machines, bolted to the walls of station platforms and pub corridors, gleamed with rows of number 6, just a coin and a twist away. Newsagents' counters kept the packets stacked behind glass, their navy blue fronts as familiar as the local paper. In canteens, on building sites, and in the cabs of lorries, the packet was always close at hand. It lived in jacket pockets, glove compartments, and the sideboard drawer at home, ready for tea breaks, bus journeys, or a quick smoke before the next shift. Everywhere you looked, player's number 6 was there, not a luxury, but a staple. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, player's number 6 became your dad's. Its presence was so constant that it faded into the background, yet for many, the memory of that blue packet lingers, ordinary, unremarkable, and utterly woven into the fabric of daily life. Warnings about smoking had echoed through medical journals for years, but it was the 1971 health warning label printed in stark type on every player's number 6 packet that made the risks impossible to ignore. The Royal College of Physicians' reports had been clear: cigarettes were linked to lung cancer, heart disease and early death. Public health officials now had the evidence and the mandate to act. For the first time, the familiar navy blue packet carried not just a badge of routine, but a printed reminder of danger. Inside the Nottingham boardrooms, company directors debated how to keep their budget-friendly brand afloat. Coupon schemes were extended and new advertising campaigns were tested, but the tide was turning. In 1978, the government introduced a new tax on cigarettes calculated by retail price, rather than weight. The change hit low-cost brands hardest. Overnight, the price gap between players number 6 and premium brands like Benson & Hedges shrank to just a few pence. The blue packet lost its edge as the affordable choice for the man on the tools or the woman at the sewing bench. Sales charts, once a source of pride, now showed a sharp decline. The brand's dominance was slipping away. By the early 1990s, Imperial Tobacco's board minutes recorded the inevitable. With shrinking margins and a shrinking market, Players No. 6 was quietly discontinued in 1993. The last packets left the Nottingham factory, ending nearly 3 decades as the everyday cigarette of working Britain. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, Players No. 6 became your dad's. Now the navy blue box is a memory, part of a world that vanished as health campaigns, tax reforms and changing attitudes swept the old routines aside. If Woodbine was your grandfather's cigarette, Players No. 6 became your dad's, ordinary, affordable, woven into working lives. Its blue packet faded as Britain changed, but the memory lingers in every break room story. What we carried in our pockets still shapes what we remember as home. Share your memories below.